Now, please welcome to the stage USAID Senior Advisor for International Education, Christie Vilsack.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. So come with me to Malawi, one of the small rural countries in Africa, one of the over 50 countries all over the world where USAID works to reduce extreme poverty. In Africa, it's common for mother groups to greet you when you come into the village. And on this particular day that I'm talking about, I was coming with the ambassador in Malawi to kick off Malawi's early grade reading program. And in Chichewa, the local language, the mothers were singing us into the village saying, invite the early grade reading program into your homes and give it a seat. Before the ceremony, though, the mothers took us to their own homes. And they were telling us that they so cared that their children were learning to read. But they had nothing in their homes, not one book. They didn't own a book. They had nothing at all that had even one letter on it. And so they decided they were going to let their children write on the walls. And they called some children forward with pieces of chalk to write on their walls. And for me, that was an emotional moment because I remembered the day that I came home when my own sons were young and had found that they had taken crayons to the walls between their bedrooms, and I had spent an angry hour with Mr. Clean taking it all away. And what I saw in these women was that universal spirit of parents all over the world, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, that says we want something better for our children. But in every country that I visited, in every classroom that I have visited around the world in the last 4 years with USAID, I've seen empty bookshelves. And in the places where there are books, there are a few ratty textbooks that somebody in this country didn't want that they boxed up and sent to Africa or sent to some other developing country. Some of them are chemistry textbooks that no child in the first grade could read. They're books with little blonde girls riding their tricycles down suburban streets. In most of these countries, there are no public libraries at all. 250 million children in the world don't know how to read, don't have access to school, or don't have access to teachers who can teach them to read. And so they can't understand even a single text. And they won't be able to read to learn if they don't learn to read. And that has implications for all of us, for our sense of security, for our prosperity, for the future of democratic societies. Youth who know how to read have a better chance of getting and keeping a job, of supporting their families and contributing to their communities. And those of us who love to read know how important it is, reading a good book is to the quality of life. We need millions and millions of books in local languages, in Chichewa and Bimba and Hausa and Urdu, many, many more. Our research shows that children best learn to read in the language they were born into the world hearing their mothers sing to them. Once they learn to read in their mother tongue, they can read in any language. Most of the world's students don't even have one reading textbook. And those who do can improve without a good teacher who's trained and without practice. And practice requires hundreds and hundreds of books like this book at different reading levels. Each child needs hundreds of these at every level throughout their first 3 years of school and beyond to increase fluency and understanding. So take a minute just to think about how you learn to read. When the shapes on the page all of a sudden turn from squiggles into language that you could understand. It wasn't magic, maybe a little magic, but mostly it was science. And it required a good teacher, somebody who was trained in education or the science of teaching reading, to lead each of us to that first word. My colleague Rebecca Rhodes at USAID, who's a teacher and a reading specialist, says that the hardest part of learning to read is getting to that first word. So getting to the first word is about hearing rich language and new words. It's about naming those letters and the sounds they make. and putting those sounds together and discovering sentences and reading faster and faster and faster until finally those words begin to make sense. In our language, in English, that's at about 40 words per minute where fluency happens. In the US today, at the end of second grade, the lowest 10% of our readers are reading about 31 words per minute. That's not quite fluent. And the upper 10% of American students are reading 142 words per minute, with most of our children someplace in between. Imagine what it would be like not to be able to read the simplest of words at the end of second grade. In Malawi, 96% of the children at the end of second grade have not yet gotten to their first word, even though they've been in school for 2 or 3 years. And that's true of most of the countries that we're working in around the world. So with our partners, we're making a lot of progress. We're training teachers. We've created the assessment that helps ministers of education make decisions. We've written textbooks in all those local, or as many of those local languages as we can. But we have to do more. And in order to see why, let me take you back to Malawi to the classroom of Anita Banda. Anita Banda, when I was there that day, was trying to teach 200 children in that room. I've been a teacher for 44 years. 200 children. She is trained in the science of teaching reading. We've trained her. But she doesn't have enough pencils. She doesn't have enough desks. She doesn't have enough books. In fact, her children are learning to write their letters in the air. And outside of her classroom and the one next door, the children are sitting on the floor with little nubbins of chalk writing on the cement floor, and out the window you can see all the classes that are underneath trees. So imagine what Anita Banda could do if she had smaller classes and had the sets of classroom books that most of us grew up with. To be successful, Anita needs tools. She needs more textbooks, but she needs more of these easy reading books. She needs lots of them. They don't have to be fancy. They can just be, this one's fancy, actually. She just needs simple books on paper that could be stapled together. With partners like those in this room, however, USAID is determined to fill Anita Banda's shelves. So through our All Children Reading Grand Challenge, we created a prize that we wanted to award to anybody who could figure out how to create software that would help us write, collect, translate, download, publish, and share millions of these simple reading books at different levels. Sil Lead stepped up to the challenge and created the Bloom software. I have it right here in my hand. This is a little bit of magic. It gives each of us in this room the chance to be a hero and change the life of a child. You can plug this software, this flash drive, into any computer in the world, and you can start turning anybody into this room or any room into someone who can start writing simple books at different levels for children in local languages. We want to use this all over the world to create a digital library in the cloud that is open source and that anyone in the world, anywhere they are, can add to or can download in local languages. In Ethiopia, the first of our countries to start this project, they've already created 45 books that are being approved by the ministry, 3 different languages, 15 in each language. Next year, I was talking the other day to a representative of Library for All, which received one of our grants, and they'll be doing books in Creole and Haiti. We've got 10 of those kinds of workshops up and running around the world right now. We also just put out a request for proposals, for country plans, that whole countries are able to come up with a plan that would involve writing the books, also making sure that they can be cost effectively produced and then tracked and traced so they actually get into the hands of the teachers and the children, and also opportunities for teachers to learn how to use them, because putting the books in the classroom isn't enough if teachers don't know what to do with them when they're there. So at Indiana University, at the University of Texas, San Antonio, I know we have people here from San Antonio today, at Gallaudet, at GW, the University of Iowa. Students, faculty, community members, the diaspora, celebrity authors have come together on Saturday mornings or Thursday evenings for book write-a-thons. Next week, we will be at Boston College doing a write-a-thon there. If you're a student leader, if you're a faculty member, we hope you'll take with you one of these toolkits, one of these handbooks that will help you on your campus or with your community group or with the diaspora start using the toolkit to create community activities and campus activities that will help people start writing books. You can visit globalbookalliance.org where you can get a digital version of this toolkit. You can also access the software right now. We use these in countries where there's no Wi-Fi, but at bloomlibrary.org right this minute, you could call it up and start writing a book right here in the room. You can also join us this afternoon at Morse Hall between 12:30 and 2, and we'll be doing a demonstration of the Bloom software there. So our university partnerships are critical to the success of this. We need academic institutions to help us, as those institutions I mentioned, supply us with information, with subjects for books. We need university communities, which include the diaspora, to help us. Many of the diaspora speak and write these languages that we're talking about. We need students who are digital natives to help us innovate and make even better software products that improve what we're doing, to make sure that we can get books into the hands of kids all over the world and create this digital library in the cloud. So before I go, I want to introduce you to a first grader I met in Malawi. Her name is Martha, and she was so shy she could barely say her name above a whisper. And I was with a reading specialist who's from that local area, but who works for USAID, and I asked him how Martha's life's going to be different when she learns to read. And he said, well, Martha, look around you. You're surrounded by corn. This is an agricultural community, and I'm from a small rural community. I felt right at home in Malawi. And he said, she will be a farmer, but she'll be a more prosperous farmer because she'll be able to read the extension information, and she'll be able to produce better crops, and she'll be a healthier woman because she'll be able to read the healthcare information. She will most likely decide to space her children and have fewer of them. We already know that a woman who knows how to read, her children will live past 5 years old. We know that for every year of education she has, her income will go up by 10%, and the gross national product of her country will go up. So if you help us stock the shelves of the digital library in the cloud and get those books into the hands of children all over the world, someday Martha's children and maybe her grandchildren will have the opportunity to sit in a room like this and to enjoy the kind of education that everybody in this room enjoys today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christie.